future is now. Bringing the game, change and style. The future of monetization for brands when it come to gaming. Break it down.
So, Xavier, tell us a little bit about yourself. We're curious. We really love your channel, XDF. Can you tell us what sparked your interest for fashion and gaming?
So I've always kind of had an interest in fashion. I loved kind of pairing different clothing items together. And growing up in the 2000s, we know that Y2K fashion is having a little bit of a resurgence. That was definitely a time where people were kind of discovering new ways to put their outfits together, just really different ways to express themselves. And I think that that inspired kind of how I wanted to experiment with clothing. And that also started to impact gaming and manga around that time as well. And so I was all about the games, still about the games, and all about my favorite anime shows. And so just seeing those kind of worlds collide was just like my space of interest, my hobby zone. And so that's just been an area that I've continued to kind of nurture and keep the passion alive. And that's just really enhanced how I approach social media as that started to
Mhm.
emerge. So just playing with different outfits, talking about what I like to do. And that's what's kind of culminated in me building more social platforms dedicated to exploring the intersection between fashion and my special interests, which are gaming and anime. I started the channel about, I guess it's like 2 to 3 years ago. I tried to experiment with like YouTube before, but I just, especially just with like TikTok, people are all about authenticity and we're just like, post what you love. Like people just want to see someone who's talking about what they're passionate about. And I was like, well, JoJo is an anime I recently watched like in the past few years. Crazy outfits. Let me just start a video on that. And it just like blew up and started to get some traction and started to find my people. And it's been a really fun ride since then. Yeah, I part of why I really also want to do that on YouTube especially was they say that social media is where you can find the people that you may not be able to as easily find in real life. So I've just been, and even though it's quite niche still, I've slowly started to find the people who are also passionate about this, just with comments like, finally, some people I can talk to about this. And so it just feels really good to share a space with people with that similar interest.
Definitely. I mean, I'm right there with a similar interest. I actually found you through your Frutiger Ergo video, which I feel like is like super niche. So
Very,
yeah,
very much so.
yeah, but it was a great video.
I'm
But
glad you found me.
yeah, well, me too. So with Fortnite's Adidas collab and Balenciaga's Afterworld, what in your opinion would make brand gaming partnerships so impactful for Gen Z or in general?
Yeah, I think that's a really great conversation to explore in more depth. From what I see from comments that I get, because I know that I have like a 18 to 25-year-old audience, is there's just not a lot of shopping taking place, I think, with maybe most of Gen Z. I don't know. I mean, I'm a millennial, so I don't know the behavior super so, but I've just seen that there's still just like this nudge to get in there and explore different brands, explore the shopping experience. And so I love these brand collaborations because they really meet Gen Z where they are. It's just kind of meeting them halfway and almost kind of coming into their zone and their territory in a native and natural way that I think isn't too invasive or disruptive. Like, you know how marketing can be, it can just kind of be like a little in your face. And I think people are kind of exhausted by that. But I love these collaborations because it just gives so much more of a medium that speaks the language that I think Gen Z is all about, which is just cool experiences, online experiences, and just makes the clothing and brands more accessible and tangible. And I think it's just a really great introduction and just kind of gateway for them to hopefully discover what they like and they don't like in a virtual way, and then maybe expand upon that in the real world or with other brands.
What is your take on how games could better represent diverse body types and cultures through skins in gaming?
That's a great question too, because I get lots of comments about people just wanting to be seen in these different pieces of media. And I think
Mm.
that character customization is obviously huge. People love the opportunity just to create themselves or a alternative ego or persona in these spaces. And I think that games are getting better at adding just the necessary options. So like literally in terms of body types, skin tones, features, hairstyles. I know that for like the Black community, especially for like at least maybe Black men, I've seen complaints about just like, can we get different hairstyles, please? But then body types is obviously huge just because a lot of popular game characters or just like default characters go to the slim, like idealistic formats. And a lot of people just want to experiment with fashion, want to indulge in these fantasies, but they just don't like have these avatars in which to aspire to. So I like that there's just more range in these character customizations. But then also, as far as skins are concerned, I think the lack of gender locking on some of the like male versus female has been huge. Like Monster Hunter Wilds, for example, I recently covered that, and that just allows people to mix and match and experiment with clothes in different ways and allows them to kind of see how different combinations can maybe create something that's accessible and maybe less strict in terms of like how genders are known or perceived to typically show up. But as far as just like skins in general, I think also like if you can't customize it and it's just like you purchase it, I just think covering more varieties and genres of fashion has also been huge. People don't always subscribe to one genre specifically. They like to blend between the different subgenres, different trends, and et cetera. So I think that we're headed in the right direction, honestly. I think that a lot of game developers are kind of seeing what their players are interested in, and they're really building upon that in increasingly creative and unique and innovative ways. And I know that there's a lot of research that designers do on like fashion and culture. And so I just think that more of it, just they can just keep doing more of it and just keep building on that momentum. I constantly like talk about how, especially when there's a cultural, traditional, historical clothing, I love when they just blend it with something modern and contemporary. I always say that like I'm a broken record. So I just would love if they can continue to do that. So I think all of it's happening. Just continue to do it.
Do you remember that podcast we did with Jorel Batak,
Mhm.
the esports one? Remember he was mentioning when he was younger, I don't remember what game he was playing, but he said he saw a character that looked like him and that he immediately felt a connection to the game. He wanted to play that character more because he'd never seen that before. Remember that? So it just goes to show you like how diversity is so important when you're considering these elements in a game.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know, I think I've talked to you, Tracy, about it before, but Xavier, have you heard of Palia? It's like a new MMO that came out recently.
I think I've heard the name, but I haven't like looked too deep into it.
It's still pretty beta, like it's really buggy still, but one of the cool things about it is that all of the clothing from the get-go was gender unlocked. So like doesn't matter what body shape your character has, you can wear whatever. So yeah, that was a pretty cool addition. So just thinking of like that developers are looking into it, and I think newer games coming out like Monster Hunter's Wild are starting to see that this is definitely the move.
Definitely the move.
Yeah. Kind of pivoting into another project that we're doing, the Fashion and Gaming Awards. We're aiming to celebrate innovation in game design, new clothing and games, etc. So what trends, collabs, or games would you be most excited to see recognized in that project?
Yes, and I first just want to say love figs, love the whole concept. I know in thinking about like how can the industry or folks involved just kind of build upon or just kind of do more in that space. I think that establishing an institution or something formal around this recognition is so cool. And it just only creates a wider space for more people like us just to kind of come together and celebrate what we love. So first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I'm so excited for it. I think that so I know that Marvel Rivals is just like so peak right now. It's just because it's like it's a Marvel title and it's like really popular. I personally love some of the creativity that I'm seeing with the designs there. Even if it's maybe just a few of the select skins, like not all of them are that great, but I just think that there's some cool designs, especially building upon such a classic intellectual property. That would be so cool to see recognized. Also, just games that are really just super fashion focused, like Infinity Nikki. I just think so special, so cozy, and just really creates a world around fashion and just really like not it's not just one component of like something separate. It feels a little bit more central. But then I would even say like maybe even a game like Monster Hunter Wilds, just for the level of customization that can take place. And it's just a popular title in general. Um, there's also, I think, yeah, some recent collaborations. I'm still getting refreshed on some of the most like bleeding edge ones as of like within the past year or so. But I would say that even like let's say, yeah, like an Adidas and Fortnite wouldn't hurt just because it's true to the product and it's not really trying to do anything too off brand, but still just in a very natural way that I think aligns with the clothing and the design that's in the game. So something that just feels really synergistic and cohesive. So I just think different elements like that, whether it's just like popular titles, creative, fashion, unique games, and then just even modest, straightforward integrations.
Well, talking about collaborations, is there a particular collab that has really inspired you, Xavier? And why was that? And is there one that you've had an aversion to, and what was the reason behind that?
Yes, so I was really thinking about it, and some of my favorite collaborations are a little like upwards to a decade ago, but I loved the work done with Final Fantasy. There were a few activities that took place there. There was Louis Vuitton with one of the main characters, Lightning, in
Mhm.
13.2, and she was like
Mhm.
full blown model, had her own
Wow,
commercial and everything.
gorgeous.
Love the outfits. Prada also
Mhm.
did, I think, a full collection with that cast of characters. And then there was also Final Fantasy 15, where there was a Japanese designer that it wasn't like an official like mainstream brand collab, but there was a Japanese designer that like designed some of the outfits. There's even like I think some Vivian Westwood
Mhm.
inspiration involved there too. So loved that. But then I also really did enjoy the Balenciaga Afterworld. Like that was
Oh
so
yeah,
unique.
it's amazing.
I mean, just one of a kind. I think I would love to see more of that. Have to be honest, maybe not the biggest fan of all the looks in the lookbook, but I think that just the quality depiction of the outfits and the clothing so true to the Balenciaga brand and just made it feel very tangible and realistic, kind of like how I was mentioning, like, and Thea introduced with the Gen Z kind of concept. It just really brings the brand to the front door and allows you to really get immersed. I thought it was absolutely well done.
Tell us about the ones that you've had an aversion to. What was the reason behind them?
There was
Is there
one,
any?
yeah, there was one with Gucci Garden in Roblox. I think they were trying to go for something a little more experimental. Um, I wouldn't say like an aversion, but I don't know. I just kind of like when you see like a Balenciaga Afterworld and you see like some of these other depictions, it just felt like maybe I just didn't maybe I was lost with the conceptual angle. It just didn't maybe feel as like immersive and creative for me. I feel like I've seen really cool things in Roblox. I feel like I've seen like really nice textures and designs and like experiences. And I just felt like that one, I don't really know what happened there. It just didn't really draw me in. It felt a little flat, to be honest. But for the most part, I'd say that I'm more so blown away than anything else from a lot of the creativity that people are able to exercise. Like there was Burberry, I think Burberry and Minecraft.
Yeah,
That one was really cool. Like there's just I'm more so drawn to like what's cool, and I haven't really seen too many fall flat.
I definitely think this kind of idea of like the brand building out their world online, like what Balenciaga had done with Afterworld is like so cool and innovative. So,
Out of this world.
kind of pivoting here a bit, you did an episode on fashion copyright context and considerations was the title of the video, for character designing, and it was very insightful. Could you give our audience some context behind this and kind of the biggest takeaways that brands might need to be aware of?
For sure. So I have a lot of aspiring character designers watch my channel, and they're still kind of experimenting with different outfits, really just kind of exploring how they can really build their fashion design skills. I mean, it's fashion design. And so there was a comment that I got that was curious, like if you find a piece of outfit inspiration or clothing inspiration online and you want to feature that on your character, like could you run into issues? Like I think that there's just like the concern about infringement and overlapping with what's already existing. I know that artists are very have really good kind of merits or just morals and like ethics with regard to that. And so there's just some concern there. So I did some research. I was actually curious myself just to kind of really understand. And the main takeaways are, I mean, I feel like it's kind of, we should maybe know this like by common sense, is like, just don't, just be cool, like know your lane. Don't try to swerve into other people's lanes too much of what they've already done. And essentially just try to be unique and creative. Essentially, some of the rulings that were able to be formed around fashion was, is what you're designing and putting out there unique enough to really stand on its own? And are you really putting artistic value into what you're creating? And so I think as long as people kind of stick to that and don't try to copy and paste other people's formulas too much, which is where I know that AI can be a little bit gray for some people, but I mean, a jury's out on that one for me. But I think that brands should just be conscious of creativity. Like, I mean, know what's true to your brand and stick to it. Like, don't maybe try to, like Balenciaga Afterworld, like don't maybe try to copy their code and like implement that directly, but like try to figure out how you could do something like that. Or if, and because of, I think a lot of the designs that are put into video games can maybe be a little bit simplified from what a brand actually has. Like, don't try to just do the same format or the same kind of styles that you saw another brand do necessarily. Like, just how you would try to be creative in real life with your actual runway shows or collections that you're putting out into the market. Carry that same energy with these brand collaborations, especially in the virtual space. So much room to be creative and unique and innovative. And would just, I think as long as people continue that challenge and take advantage of that opportunity, like sky's the limit. Like, there should be no issues unless someone wants to get petty and wants to be like, hey, that's really close to my situation, which, I mean, that's business. So can't help that happens from time to time.
Let's talk about some of the failures, that the fashion failures in gaming. What's the worst fashion, Xavier, you've come across? And can you tell us what factors made it so horrendous?
So
Are there any?
there are, and there was, I hate to continue to dogpile on it, but Concord, ooh, like I think we've all heard about that. And you know, like there's very few games where I could look at the outfits and just be like, what's happening here? Like, just kind of laugh out loud and just kind of be like, what are we trying to do? I did know and acknowledge, in the spirit of trying to like see the effort, that there was like this broader artistic concept that they were going for, retro future sci-fi dystopian-esque a little bit, but I just don't know what happened. Like, and I think that a lot of gamers liked the gameplay, but what really turned them off was just a lack of iconic main character energy coming from the fashion. And even if a lot of gamers didn't really want to pinpoint fashion specifically, like that's really what it was. Like, we know that fashion can help you express yourself and give you some of that aura or vibe. And the characters just didn't have the color pop. They didn't have the cool, interesting elements that really differentiated them and made them feel like they stood out, like truly on their own. There were some good outfits, but I just feel like I just like, it's kind of leaves me speechless a little bit. Like, I just don't know why, like, that was the case. It just, the unflattering clothes, not cool, and very true to a little bit of the movements and like the situation. Loved the body type diversity, but like, that's why I explored, is there a different way to style this, or different brands you could use to like hit the like energy of your theme without doing what you did? Like, I just don't even know what they did. Like, I can't even put a word to it. It just felt confusing and it felt uninspired and contrived. I don't even know what to say about that. It was a disaster.
Do you think it was just more like in the development of the game, there was they were so focused probably on the narrative and maybe the aesthetics in the virtual apparel was more of like an afterthought?
That's, I think, I think we'll go with that. I think that that's a fair benefit of the doubt, just because like I appreciate what maybe, yeah, I love what they were going for with the story and the cast, but I think that's a great testament to please keep fashion forefront and do some research and maybe even survey some people in advance to really understand like, is this the move or are you just throwing something out there that you think is only cool that like just isn't gonna land with people because that's pretty much exactly what happened.
So going from bad, let's go to good. Tell us, Xavier, what do you think makes a good and successful outfit, a good and successful virtual outfit?
So I think kind of along the lines of what fell flat from that previous example, I think just great use of fashion of honestly core fashion concepts, great proportions and silhouettes, and love various texture. I just love when there's unique various textures brought together. That's an easy way to like not only in the real world but like in the virtual space especially, so much creativity just to kind of mix and match those elements. Love when there's some effort there. But also I think, and I've learned this from my audience to kind of better balance my perspective, is like something that is stylish, trendy, cool, but also does bring in a little bit more of that influence from the context in which the characters are in and does serve what the character functions at, like functions as, or the role that they occupy. That was before a little bit more secondary to me. I still love just like a cool statement fashion piece that has hardware, flashy, like in your like looks designer, but love when it can check all the boxes and just really be relevant, fashion relevant, and character relevant. So just really 360 complete synergy there.
In your channel, you mentioned luminosity in the lighting as well. So that plays a bit of a factor for you, you think?
Love some luminescence. Love when there's like a cool, I love futuristic kind of styles in general, which is why like I've covered so much cyberpunk genre and I love a little bit of punky and like edgy style anyway. But yes, thanks for that call out. There are definitely specific elements that I just like love me some luminescence. Like it just lights just really add so much to the outfit and really kind of help draw your attention to elements that you can unpack even further.
Do you have any game that you feel like really exemplifies that idea for you, like of your tastes and kind of opinions? Do you have a favorite
So
game?
yeah, um, there's just a lot of like MOBA games, like one specifically that actually had some cool bioluminescence or just like luminescence in it was Fragpunk is like a recent new game that kind of came out that was also a little bit cyberpunky. Cyberpunk 2077, obvious by nature, has a lot of that, and I loved seeing some of that. For better or worse, not saying that the outfits are like anything that anybody needs to get into, but Stellar Blade, just some of like the lights across the suits. Like I was even saying, like I would just love if more of that kind of approach to the suits was brought into other games. Like they had a lot of like I keep saying bio. Alice, like at Alice Madness Returns is like a really old game that had some bioluminescence in like an outfit. I keep saying bio, but just like lights in general. Yeah, I thought that Stellar Blade had some cool elements that could be brought into games that are just a little bit more standard fashion. Would love to see more of those kind of cyberpunky elements mixed into the fashion.
Perfect. Well, let's go into some rapid fire questions now, shall we?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is your favorite skin of all time?
Seraphine's KDA all out outfit. I think it's just so cute. So cute.
Excellent, excellent. Most underrated game with killer fashion?
I've recently started covering it. Gotchas in general, but Dislight is one that has some really cool outfits, and I can't wait to cover more of those on some upcoming videos.
Excellent. And lastly, what is one brand you'd love to see in a collab?
Balmain, I don't know if they've ever done a
Oh.
collaboration in the same way, like as a Balenciaga or a Gucci or a Prada. Balmain, I just love their line. I feel like I've mentioned their
Yeah,
name many times. Would love to
yeah,
see Uniqlo's
they
done
have.
anything.
Yeah, they
Um,
did do something. I can't remember. We were just talking about them today, Fia, weren't we?
yeah, I feel like Uniqlo's so accessible that I just feel like
Hmm.
they could easily blend into something
Yeah,
that could
yeah,
inspire some style.
very good point. All right, so in closing, where can listeners follow your work?
So pretty much just like tune into the channel XDF on YouTube, three short letters, trying to keep the branding consistent, but also just if they want to check out more of what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to build a more consistent blog schedule, and I'm offering services across a few different areas, still building my brand, xdf.ceo. That's another area where they can just kind of keep up with what I got going on. Still plenty in the works, but emerging slowly.
And then what is next for you with XDF? I know you just said a bunch of things that you're working on right now, but where do you see yourself in the future with your brand?
So I would love to just continue to be and really assert myself as like a thought leader within the fashion and gaming space, at least commentary wise. Would love to collaborate with like actual professionals and experts like you and Thea. That would be amazing, just to kind of really lean more into that space and just kind of contribute to more of the community around this, whether that's through some individual consulting on games or just even helping out with different kind of organized events. Would love to just continue to do more of that, but then also just continuing my career in media and marketing. So still have that going on, and would love to continue to dabble in some AI stuff as well where I can.
Excellent. Now we're going to close this with a trivia question, an XDF trivia question.
In the Devil May Cry series analyzed by XDF, which real-world fashion brand's outfits appear on the characters?
Was it A, Diesel, B, Gucci, C, Balenciaga, or D, Louis Vuitton?
You can check our website for the answer.
And also make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials, Game Changing Style everywhere, or visit our website, gamechangingstyle.com. Thanks so much, everyone. And thank you, Xavier, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Had a great time.
The future is now, bringing the game, changing style. The future of monetization for brands when it come to gaming. Break it down, talking about the strategies for pros in so many industries. The podcast